Hello and welcome to the VR Untethered podcast. We have Brad and me, Josh, also known as Silverfire. Um, Feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoy what we are doing, and comment with your reactions to what we have to say. Uh, Today we're gonna really quickly go over our VR highlights of the week. We haven't really done that in a while. I think
No,
it's something we to, to get back into
right.
a
Well,
little
it
bit.
was the
Then
holidays, so we took
yeah, and then we have a core topic today of is VR inherently dangerous? There have
wow.
been a couple articles out there saying, "Oh, beware." So we're going to deal with that a little bit later.
Yeah.
So first of
But
all,
first, the highlights.
yeah. So
Okay.
what were
So
your
let's.
do you want me to go
My
first?
highlight. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you go first?
Okay. I'll go first. My highlight this week was actually getting to play some games I haven't done in a while. Um, I had picked up some games during the sale, so I started playing Journey of the Gods,
Hmm.
and interesting game. I mean, it's an old game, but it looks so much better in the gameplay than the demo. Um, I think that the it's a lesson for developers to make their demos more reflective of their games.
Right.
Because
Right.
if they
'Cause
had, uh,
I played the demo of that game and I thought it was okay, but it didn't grab me enough to make me want to buy
exactly,
the full game.
that was exactly how I felt about it, and it just sat there until the sale, and then I saw the sale, and people were saying it was good, so I figured, okay, I'll give it a try, and it is. It's really very, very good, and so much more immersive than you would ever think from the demo because it is done in a cartoonish type style. But when you're playing the actual game for a while, you get used to it. When you're playing the game for 5 minutes, you're still distracted by the stuff. So,
Yeah, true.
and
To an extent, yeah.
yeah, I also played Path of the Warrior,
Hmm.
which has also been out for quite a while. I guess almost 2 months now, a month and a half or
Yeah,
so.
or something like that. Yeah,
And
it's a medium age game.
yes,
It's medium rare.
and medium. It's not too old, not too new, but it is so much better than I anticipated it to be because people were comparing it to Drunken Bar Fight, and the graphics are 1,000 times better than Drunken Bar Fight. There is a story, and they've added a co-op, and that co-op does make the game a lot more fun. And I would say that that's a big thing. And
Yeah,
of
I was going
course,
to ask you about that to co-op when we got such a news a little bit later, but since you brought it up, how was the co-op? Uh, um, I I realize you only just got the game, so you probably don't have a direct comparison with the single player mode, but um, uh, what are some of the details of it? Are you like both just going through the exact same stuff that uh, from what you've seen on the videos, or is it a
um,
different?
it seems to be pretty much the exact same stuff, except they obviously add more enemies.
Okay.
And also, um, it's easier to get to the next level, obviously, if you have somebody helping you. And since you can pick up anything in the room or the environment you're in and use it as a weapon, the game is really, I wouldn't recommend it for children because you can fry and roast your enemies as well as stab them, throw them into jukeboxes.
Yep.
It gets pretty violent. It really does.
Hurls them up into the fan.
Oh yeah, that one was really cool. Watching him spin around like that is very interesting. And the boss fights are really impressive. And I have to say that it I don't think it got enough hype, to be very honest with you, because the gameplay is pure fun. There is some storyline to keep you interested. I mean, really not,
Yeah.
and it does feel like you've been put right into the middle of like a Double Dragon or Streets of Rage or
Right.
any of those types of games,
Just
exactly like you
pure.
would picture the guy being, is exactly what you're like. And oh, also, you can kick in this game
Yeah.
by using your A button and your X button. And if you
Yeah.
press them both at the same time,
It does a
you get a
whirlwind kick.
hurricane kick.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the game is really so much fun. The only thing that's very, very bizarre is when you play in co-op, you don't see your partner as a full player. You see them as just the face and the hands.
Can you see when they do a kick? Uh, or
Yes, you do see the kick come out of nowhere, which is kind of always strange to see a foot come out of nowhere and kick this guy in the side of the head. Um, but yeah, the guy is basically your partner isn't there except for the head and the hands, and it's also only one color, so you're sort of seeing through them, and that's a little disorienting at first.
okay.
And you do get in each other's way occasionally, depending on how you fight. But
Right.
uh, I enjoyed it, and I enjoy co-op play, and I enjoy multiplayer usually more than I enjoy single player in most games. So
Right.
in this, when it's a fighting game and you're moving from stage to stage, it's kind of fun to have a friend along with you, so you can both enjoy it. It's nice when somebody sees you pull a good move, or you watch them pull a good move. So,
Right. Yeah.
so I really like that one. And what else? Oh, I looked at Multiverse,
Yeah.
and uh, I was
Well,
less than impressed.
well, we can talk about that more in the new releases if you want.
Okay,
So
why don't you get into highlights and we can do that?
yeah. True. Well, um, unless you have any more, I'm gonna go through my highlights.
No, those are my two biggies, so I would consider
Okay.
those the highlights. Everything else is sort of
All right. Well, I also checked out Multiverse, and I had it seems a little bit of a different take of it on it than you, but as I said, we will get to that later.
okay.
um, I played some the Pistol Whip as usual this week. Some the Synth Riders, the Tilt Brush, Swords of Gargantua, and probably my biggest highlight for existing games was Rec Room released laser tag on the Quest, and I don't recall seeing any hype to build up to it like they had with Stunt Runner, which I can understand because it's not a new activity for all the platforms. It's just new for the Quest. But I happened to get on Twitter and I saw Rec Room posted 3 hours ago laser tag on Quest. I'm like, huh? So I
I
checked
got
it
the
out and
email
it's
last
pretty
night.
fun. Huh?
I got the email last night from them, from
Ah,
Coach, and
yeah.
it
Yeah.
does look like
So,
fun.
yeah, it is fun. It's much more fast paced than paintball is. Um, and of course, the environments are different, and you have the power weapons spawning in the middle and all that. Um, and it's also a little bit buggy right now. Excuse me. Um, periodically, there's lag showing up, or some stutters, or that problem where you turn your head and it's just the black, and then it catches up and it loads it again, stuff like that. But that will improve as time goes on. Because this was only just released, they've got probably 5 or 6 patches that they're gonna do on it to improve it and get it better. Um, and as Michael would be pointing out, this is paving the way to his favorite game on Rec Room, which is Rec Royale.
Yeah, big surprise there, huh?
Yeah.
But it
So
does seem, you have to give the developers time to put their patches in. Once you get
yeah.
all
Yep.
of these people playing and the servers start getting inundated, you have to give
Yep.
them time to
Yep.
catch up.
Exactly. Because no matter how much beta testing you do, it doesn't compare to the stress that you get to put on it when it goes live, and now you've got thousands of people playing
Right.
it.
It's one
So
thing to have 100, and that's a lot. When you have thousands, yeah, they need to have some time to fix it. So,
right. So
uh,
yeah, and I also checked out Project Terminus just this morning, and we'll start talking about that more a little bit later too. So I figured I'd have that in kind of new releases, news, whatever, you know, because
so
it
we're
is a new
confusing
release.
highlights and
It's on
releases and
on
news
side
and
quest,
game.
you know.
Right. There's another whole topic is side quest. I mean, they're growing by leaps and bounds.
They are. They've got a lot of great titles on there, and a lot of great tools as well. Because Pavlov Shack is on there, and with side quest, you can change your Pavlov name. You go up into the wrench icon up there, and you can change your username in Pavlov. Whereas before you were stuck as null or unknown or whatever. So
Better to have a name, definitely.
yeah, hey Noel. Everybody responds, yeah.
Yeah, right, exactly.
No, I mean
Hey,
the other
you.
Noel.
Right.
No, no, the other one.
You there. Yeah, it's tough to tap people in VR. You can't really tap on the shoulder. Go, no, you.
Well, they could possibly implement um, a haptic thing on there so that if another player intersects you, you get a little vibration to go, oh, hey, hi.
That would be
I
pretty
don't know.
cool. That
Yeah.
would be cool. Actually, have some
So,
haptic feedback for that. I'd like that. Good
or
idea.
um, um, a visual notification like someone tapped you on this side of you or on this, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I like the haptic better. It would be a little
Yeah.
less intrusive, but I guess
Yeah.
whatever gets the job done.
Yep. So, on to new releases. As we both mentioned, Multiverse was a new release that is
Freebie. A freebie.
free. So, that's always the best price, in my opinion, because it's one I can always afford no matter what my financial situation.
Yeah. You don't have to make the choice. You can just hit
Yep.
purchase.
Yep. And we also had Fail Factory, which was an Oculus Go and a Gear VR title. It came to the Quest.
Yeah.
So it's not free, but it's
Almost.
close to free. It's the lowest cost app or game I've ever seen on the Quest so far.
Absolutely. It really is virtually free. But it's sort of pathetic because it's almost like, please, please try me. You know,
Yeah,
$5 for a game is just like, really, why bother?
yeah. So, anyways, let's start off with Multiverse. Why don't you start off with telling us your thoughts as you were starting to do earlier, and then I'll add mine after.
Okay. With multiverse, I like the idea. Actually, I love the idea and I love the concept. I was a little disappointed with the degree of the graphics that are being used. It seemed to me like some of them were beautiful, but
Mm,
just some. I would say less than 20%. The other 80% I found to be graphically less interesting than I would hope that they would for something like a planetarium environment. I
okay.
like the fact that they gave you different doors to go through and different ways to explore different features. Part of it was museum like, part of it was
Mm,
planetarium, part of it was lecture. So the idea itself is good, but sort of like laser tag, it needs some work. And I would say graphically is where I see the biggest problem right now.
okay. Now, are you talking about the the um the textures
Yes,
on the planet and
yep.
whatnot,
The textures
or
on the planet are a big turnoff for me. They're just not
right?
there enough.
Well, yeah. Um, for those who have not checked it out yet, when you walk into any of the rooms in there, at first the the planet orbiting, spinning
Spitting in
in
front
the
of you.
middle of the room is just a giant colored ball, and then a texture gets loaded onto it that makes it look like whatever planet it is. And the textures could probably be a little bit higher resolution. They are somewhat low resolution, but I think that's done primarily for performance issues. I don't know, maybe they initially had higher the textures and it was causing so much lag in the area. I don't know. Maybe that's all they were able to get uh, for free, and if they wanted higher resolution stuff, they had to pay out more money. And because they were doing a free app, they didn't want to, spend more than they needed to. I don't know. And maybe that'll improve in a patch in a week or so too. You never know.
Right. But it's still, we're reviewing it now. So it's as
Right.
is
Yeah.
now as opposed to as it could be or should be.
Right.
So,
And and I agree that those are a little disappointing in the level of detail on them, but those planets are meant to be viewed at a distance, not uh, up close. Which is why you can't walk off of the balcony and to get closer to them. You can to get closer if you cheat and you use room scale and you turn around and then rotate yourself with your thumbsticks so you are facing them again and walk to the edge of your room scale, turn around,
yeah,
to keep doing that, you can get closer to it, but there's really no point
no
because,
reason to.
a medium to low resolution texture. So you're not going to see more detail.
And that would be that's basically my problem is that that's the first thing that you see when you walk into the rooms is that planet.
Well,
And if you're going to make anything, you know,
right.
stand out like that, it
Now,
really should be.
yeah. Now, while I agree with that, my overall impression is that it's a really good app. Um, it's got a social layer where you can interact with other people. I'm not completely 100% in love with the avatars. They're they're kind of goofy looking, but that's a design choice. I think it's probably aimed at a little bit of a younger crowd than I am. Um, but when you well, first of all, it takes you through a tutorial teaching you how to touch the buttons, how to touch them from a distance, and all that stuff, and then you are in your home environment, and from the home environment you can go in to the planetarium, and there will be more areas coming in the future besides just the planetarium. It says that on one of the walls in your home environment that there's more areas to come in. And there are a few areas in the planetarium that are marked as coming soon. But both in your home environment and in the planetarium environment, you have a lot of interactable objects. In your home environment, you have little planets and, and stars and whatnot that you can to pick up and hold on to and then throw off of your balcony at some of the giant asteroids that are circling you. And if you hit one of the giant asteroids, makes them spin, or your object orbits around it for a little bit and then returns. In in the planetarium, you have rockets you can launch, a space shuttle that launches and flies, and if you do it right, you can make it orbit the big planet. There are fairly high resolution images on the wall. So those ones seem to be a little bit higher resolution than the planet textures that are from NASA. Um, and there's loads of audio to be listening to, and it's set up like, well, kind of like a planetarium and in an amphitheater design. You have one level here, then another level a little bit lower, and the final level even lower. And there are lots of places to explore. You can go into each planet's room. You can go into the solar system room. There's even a semi-hidden developers room where they show hints of what else that they are working on, and it's got all the credits and whatnot there also.
Well, I think we've hit on a certain point here, though. And maybe it's just because of the timing, and maybe it's because of the way that we brought up SideQuest, the
Mm-hmm.
low res graphics on Multiverse, which, as I said at the beginning, I like the idea, just not the graphics.
Right.
And then
Well.
looking at Iron Lights, which is the Kickstarter,
Mm-hmm.
and looking at the entire thing as an ecosystem, you're looking at the guy who's developing Iron Lights, and the games that he's developed in the past were great.
Right.
Um, and but very simple graphics, but beautifully done. Iron
Mm-hmm.
Lights looks to be a very, very good game, but as opposed to him being able to put it right onto the Quest, he's doing the Kickstarter to make it look even better before it gets there.
Right.
And that might have been a good idea for these guys from Multiverse too. I don't
Maybe.
know, because first
Maybe.
impressions are important.
Yeah. Now,
So
this is, that's what I was to talk about in a little bit also is your the first impression was influenced mostly by the revolution of the planet textures. Mine was mostly influenced by the environment itself, and other apps that have done similar things as this have also used those same not the highest resolution textures on the planet. And I I haven't delved into it deeply enough in my own development efforts to to know if there's a technical limitation there or if it's just grabbing what's available and using it. I really don't know. You know.
I would have to think that it's really sort of the content that you're using, because
Hmm.
and I would think that there are ways around it as well, as opposed to making the object that big. Maybe
Right.
make you bigger and make the object smaller so that it's more realistic to whatever. But what I'm
Yeah.
saying
I
is
don't know.
that first impressions are important, and
Yeah.
I think at this point we're far enough into virtual reality that you have to try a little harder.
Right.
And Go graphics don't really cut it on the Quest anymore.
Uh, it depends on the Go title. Some of those will
Agreed.
really good graphically too.
That
but
that's
but
true.
yes, I know what you mean.
So
But
that that was my one thing. Like, so here we are
overall,
talking.
yeah, overall, I think it's a, a good app for learning about the solar system and the planet. It could use improvement on the graphics. Um, my main thing I didn't like about it was the locomotion. It's
Oh,
got
oof.
it's got free locomotion, but you're moving like stuttering. It's not
It's not
smooth.
smooth. No.
It's like, you know, and you are trying to get to a button, and you are locomoting to it, and you get to it, but then to move the back, if you let go of the thumbstick in the wrong way, you move the back a step, and now you can't reach the button. So really, the best locomotion in there is the teleporting,
Absolutely.
and I would prefer the free locomotion.
Because it's set up as a museum, and it should be a free
Right,
locomotion where you can
right,
walk around and look at things from whatever angle you want to, and not have
right.
to.
Well, you can teleport freely as well. It's not like it's got teleport, just the beacon,
Right.
you know, only teleport there. No, you can teleport to almost any spot
Free
there.
teleportation, I guess. Yes, it is free teleport. Wherever you point
Yeah,
to, it'll put the circle for you to land in. So
yeah,
in that respect, yes. But you should try it out for yourself. Take a look. You know, like we said, it's a free app,
yeah,
so
yeah,
no harm done.
yep,
And you might be able to get past the graphics. They might improve them. And there might, like I said, there are other things in there that are very interesting. So
yeah,
certainly worth giving it a shot.
yep.
You know,
And the other new release was Fail Factory. Um, and that is one that I played a demo of on the Gear VR. And from what I've seen of, I think Gamertag did a video recently of the actual game on the Quest, and the demo gave an accurate feel of it. It looks like um, it's not my cup of tea as a game. It looks well done for what it is. It was well done on the Gear VR and the Go, but for what I like in the game, it's not what I like. Um, and um, it's kind of a matching game. You know, you are sorting the boxes and recycling stuff or whatever. And if it's a blue box, it goes in the blue chute. If it's red, it goes in the red. And it gets more challenging as you go on. I saw the gamer tag open up a level where all the boxes are gray. And he's like, how do I know which one they go into it? So he randomly threw it at one of the two chutes, and he thought, oh, it's got blue on the bottom of the box. So
that extra
it gets a
step.
little more challenging, but it's a time challenge. How many boxes can you get in the right chutes and the amount of time you've got, and it gets crazier and crazier and whatnot. And it looks like a fun game, but
More a
that kind of
combination of mini
game
games.
I get bored with fairly quickly
Right.
because it's a
Yeah,
little too repetitive.
right. It's a mini game. It's a game
Yeah.
that should be embedded in another game.
Well,
So
to, to me, it's kind of like Angry Bird. No, that's a fun game, but it gets old.
well,
No,
that's why they had six different versions. The one
right.
that
They
I
have
liked
like 20
best was
different
Angry
versions of
Birds.
it.
Right. I liked Angry Birds in Space because they threw gravity into there, so it
Right,
made it a little more complicated than a regular Angry Bird.
right. But Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, where's my water? The same concept. After a while,
Right.
it's like, who cares where your water is? I gave you enough. Go away. You
or
So,
or Omnom.
oh yeah, so I'm cut the rope. Now they have
Yeah. Yep.
magic cut the
Yep.
rope,
Cut
which
the rope. Yeah.
at the beginning it was like, wow, this is so cool. And about 14 puzzles in, you're going, oh yeah, it was kind of cool.
Right.
As you keep going through it, you're going, okay, enough om nom.
Yeah.
It's like,
You've had enough sugar
um,
Omnom. It's time to go to bed.
exactly. Please, please. And let's see, what else was there? Any other new games this week? Multiverse.
Well, I was gonna talk about Project Terminus as one of the new games because it came out what so this week I think
Yeah,
on
just a
iPad.
few days ago. Yeah.
Yeah, so it is from the makers of High Seas on
Serbia.
Cypress, which was another really cool game. So that one you're on a freighter basically in the middle of an iceberg field, trying to head as far north as you can while avoiding the icebergs and avoiding the giant 200-foot waves and fixing your ship whenever you get damaged. And, uh, this new one of theirs, though, they have an alpha demo out. So I suppose technically not a full release of a new release of a full game, but um, it's a very well done demo. You are in Paris, and a mysterious event has happened that has decimated the city and killed a bunch of people. And they have nanite swarms, a black cloud of nanites that are swarming around, and any person that they encounter, they devour. So your job is to escape from where you are and make your way to a safe area. And you are going through the subways of Paris. And you do encounter the Nene swarm a couple times, and you have to hide or you get eaten. um,
Hiding is better. Hiding is
yep,
definitely better.
you have a backpack you can pull from your back and put in objects for your inventory. You've got a cell phone that you carry around with you that you pull out by reaching behind your belly as opposed to over your shoulders, around at the bottom of your back, and then you pull out your your phone, and that's where objectives and settings are and the map and the communication with the AI characters or whatever. So that's a cool way of being able to have more than one thing like that. You can break the glass in the windows with the axe.
Cool.
uh, According to the game, you're not allowed to drink water. There's a caution against that, probably because the nanites are in the water. So you have to drink Coke, I guess.
Oh, cool.
And there are vending machines that have the Coke in them. Oh, you have an axe. Now you got the Coke.
Is it actually branded? Does it look like a Coca-Cola can?
Um, it looks like a Coca-Cola can, but I don't think there's any actual branding on it. It's just red and it's got some white stuff on it, so it looks like a Coca-Cola can,
Interesting.
even though it's not specifically labeled Coke.
I wonder when product placement starts becoming important in VR.
I don't know, but given that it is an alpha version of it, I tried to drinking some of the Coke or the pop, and and nothing happened. So that must not be implemented yet, but I would imagine that that's the health regenerating aspect of the game.
Sounds like it.
Um, One thing that I really like though is when you open up a door and you go into the room, instead of like how a lot of games have it, where you have to grab the handle and fully close it while holding on to the handle, you can just go like this and it slams shut behind you.
That's excellent.
It's got the physics implemented on the door.
Excellent. That really, I haven't played any game that's been that
Yeah,
um, predictive in its
yeah,
physics.
yeah. I mean, I've been playing Apex the Construct, and while it's a great game, if you are not on the handle of the door or the battery the compartment area, you can't open it. You have to grab only on the handle and then pull. And
Plus,
you can't just then let go and with a slap of the hand to close it again because you'll go right through, just like I went right through your head. You know?
sort of like this, huh?
Yeah. But that's just adds a little extra layer of fun there, and it's more realistic, obviously. And granted, the games where you have to be precisely on the handle and fully close it all the way, you're usually not being chased by something that you
Bad
need to
ideas.
hide
Right.
from and close the door behind you quickly.
Exactly. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what physics they put into the games during this year, especially with hand tracking being implemented as well. Um, I think that's an excellent way for people to. I wonder how hard it is to implement that because that's something they're going to
Probably
be.
not that hard. I mean, but it's just something that they normally don't, you know.
Right. Or
But
haven't.
speaking of that, the kind of simple the physics interaction there, that's one of the things that had a lot of people going about Half-Life Alex. In the trailers, it shows just rummaging with natural motion through the objects on a shelf, and they all react to just being hit by the hand,
Right. Right.
whether you were grabbing them and moving them or not, that they all reacted. So, so uh, it's evidently a big thing when it gets implemented and it makes people happy.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, all of those little touches are the, like you were saying, the wow touches that they're
Right,
adding now, the extra little steps of immersion.
right,
I think we've all played first-person shooters and puzzle games, and enough of those different games to see that some of them are really well made and some of them are still pretty basic. But it seems like some of them are really progressing at an amazing rate beyond other games.
right.
There are some standouts really still. Like, for instance, this past week when they introduced double pack of Red Matter and Sirento,
Mm-hmm.
both of those games are standout games graphically, playably. There's nothing. I mean, Red Matter is probably the most beautiful game I've seen
Right,
in still to this day on the Quest. So the fact that they're giving you the ability to get a game that has, it's a beautiful puzzle game, and the other
mm,
one is a complete action game. So they're giving you two ends of the spectrum, both of
right,
them excellent mediums. And if I hadn't been buying games every week, I probably would have bought that package.
right.
But
Yeah.
you
But you already own both of those games, so
exactly, it doesn't do
you
me
get a
any
hundred
good, but
percent discount on
right,
it.
exactly. Well, yes, in a way. Um, so
Whereas I own Sorrento, I don't own Red Matter, so I would get Red Matter alone for like $20 as opposed to the $25, which is
okay,
not a bad discount. But right now I'm in I've got to pick very, very carefully what I get mode. So, uh,
I know that feeling.
yeah, I'm not making money, and we are not a big enough channel yet. You can help us with that by liking and subscribing
Right.
to warrant the special treatment of being given access to the entire store by Oculus. So
That would be nice. We could
that'd
give you
be lovely to
everything.
happen, but it's not going to happen until we get a few more subscribers.
Right. Probably not next week, but maybe by February. No, well, we'll see what
Maybe
happens.
if a miracle happens.
Exactly. But yeah, the games that are coming out, it's really strange how a lot of these games are coming out with no hype whatsoever. We've been waiting for how long
Yep,
for Audica and for Horizon and all these games,
right.
Echo, coming soon, coming soon, coming soon. It's 4 months later. It's not coming soon, folks.
Yeah, but that's not true of all of them because we have Doctor Who: Edge of Time coming out next week finally.
Right, but like you said, finally that was supposed to be
Yeah,
out the
yeah,
21st.
it's been pushed back a little bit, but only to the Quest version. It's been out on the PC and the SteamVR Oculus Rift since what November, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it seems
and
to
now
get
it's
pretty good
finally
reviews.
coming to the Quest. And I managed to get a Steam VR key as part of a giveaway in December for it. So I played it with Shadow and Virtual Desktop, and I would highly recommend it if you are anywhere close to being a Doctor Who fan. If you can't stand things like Doctor Who, then I would not recommend this game for you.
Right.
But if you are anywhere near a Doctor Who fan, this is a good game. Um, there are a few buggy things with it, but I don't know how many of those were because I was doing it through the Steam VR with the Quest and Virtual Desktop,
Right, free
and
programs as opposed to just
how many are actual bugs. But n- n- none of the buggy issues um, were at all game breaking. So
okay.
they're
Well,
just minor annoyances.
right.
So
Things that we've learned to put up with the Quest
yeah,
as the programs come out and we wait for the next patch to make it perfect.
yeah, yeah. The biggest thing was in the very opening level of it, in the intro. There's a part where you have to retrieve a satellite dish off the side of a building, and you're using the screwdriver, and you have to aim it a little bit wonky so that it's like aimed here when it's actually here.
Ooh,
And again, I don't know if that's just because of my setup or if it actually was messing up like that. But you know, so
well, we have come across a quantum problem that exists within VR. We were playing Gargantua in Quest of Lightsabers, which, by the way, is going on again this weekend. If you haven't gotten your lightsabers and you haven't gotten Gargantua, get both. Um, where we were in a room and we were playing, well, fighting for our lives actually. And I dropped
playing for it.
one of my lightsabers, and Josh saw it laying over there, and
Yep.
I saw it laying over there,
Well,
and that
we both
created
saw it in the same general area. I saw it on the floor. He saw it up on the,
the ledge.
the ledge, like
Right, so it
a
was
couple
like
feet to
3 feet
behind where
higher.
I saw it.
Exactly.
So
So we were wondering if we could both grab it at the same time and have two separate weapons, or if it actually defaults to one or the other. So we're going to have to solve this quantum problem. But
well,
there does seem to
my
be
guess is uh, uh, it would be very hard to time it to be exactly at the same time on grabbing it because of the latency.
right.
But they probably got it set so that the owner of the object would take the priority of it. I don't know.
Right. We
But
have to check that out
yeah,
still.
but it was a little bit weird, in that I saw it on the floor, he saw it on the ledge. I was like, why are you walking over to the ledge? It's right there on the floor. And then he reaches over, makes a grabbing gesture, and it vanishes off of the floor. And I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm a magician. What can I say?
Yeah.
Um,
That's
yeah. So
magic
we
trick.
have, but we have to, figure this out in other multiplayer games because I know that there are games sometimes where you feel like you're hitting something and you're not. So there might be, with this latency, there could be a slight displacement of items actually colliding with each other in terms of weapons or placement. So
But
be aware that that does happen. And
yeah,
if you're doing multiplayer, uh, especially, you should be wary of that. If you find yourself not hitting the object where it is, you might want to try exactly what Josh was saying with Doctor Who and aim a little bit off and find that your aim is more
yeah,
accurate as far as the game is
yeah.
concerned.
You've got to do a little bit of that right now. In laser tag and Rec Room too. I think that they even mentioned that in a tweet or something, or someone mentioned it, that you have to lead your your target to account for the latency.
Right.
So I aim here because you're moving that way. I'd aim here, and it would hopefully to, to coincide and get you. You know, so if I
Exactly.
aim where you
So,
are, I'm going to miss.
so basically, especially in multiplayer, I would think you have to be careful about, where your aim is compared to the latency and take that into account. That's, one takeaway I have from playing the games for a while. And another reason why you should subscribe to us so that we can get more games and we can give you all of these hints.
Yep.
But and what else has been
Now,
going on?
briefly news, and then our core topic. Um, in news, this came out th- this week, and I think is really cool. It's not going to hit the market for at least another 3 or 4 years, realistically. But Mojo Vision came out of stealth mode in Silicon Valley, and they are working on augmented reality contact lenses.
Ta-da!
Um, and uh, one of the cool things that an augmented reality contact lens would provide is that it would also be able to instantly be an immersive VR experience, although not with room scale, because I would imagine that unless you've got a camera elsewhere that's tracking you, it's gonna not be able to track you doing this. But all you gotta do is close your eyes, and it's as immersive as VR.
Okay. I lost you at some point. My logic
Well,
chip
no, no.
failed, or yours did.
That was actually one of the thing that was mentioned in one of the articles, is that all you got to do is to close your eyes and it blocks out the real world, and all you see is the artificial stuff.
Oh
Yeah.
God.
I'm
um,
like, well, I'm wondering how much attention that person has ever given to when they close their eyes. It's not black, and yet unless you are in a dark room.
that's
If you're
true.
in a well lit room and you close your eyes, it's more like a dim red color.
It is. Actually, that is very true. Um, what it has to do with this conversation, I'm not really sure. But what I like about the lenses that I'm reading about, because I know that they're not going to appear the way that they're showing us the prototype.
Right.
They're massive. I mean, they're too big for humans to wear comfortably at this point. I think
Well,
as robots we
yeah,
can, but
I don't think they have a working
they do
prototype
not.
to show off right now, and because of of the nature of it, everything would have to be custom made. So you would have to go to your optometrist and get a shape of your eye and the focal length and all that, and, and that would
Okay.
be it's an off to them, and then they custom make it so that everything is aimed at the optimal area of your retina.
Right. Well, they did say that the lenses would fit on the whites of your eyes as opposed to the corneas, so that it would be for weight placement and for
Okay.
coverage.
Okay.
So
I
my
don't
biggest,
recall hearing or saying that, but that maybe you read a different article than I did.
well, hopefully we read more than one article so we can
Yeah,
give them the complete story.
yeah.
Um,
I read a couple, but I don't recall uh, on the whites of the eye, so it must have
yeah,
been left out in the couple I read.
yeah. Well, that's something that you're really only going to read if you're technically interested in how is this going to really
Right,
function, as opposed to oh wow, cool, you know.
right.
Um, so yeah, it does sit on that part of your eye, which is a really excellent idea for the weight displacement. My biggest question is how is that going to work with your hearing and your earphones to create the environment that you want?
Well, um, I believe that like like other augmented reality solutions, some of it is going to be powered by your phone or by some other wearable uh, computing device, because no matter how many tries they're able to make displays, they're still not going to be able to fit something as powerful as the Quest into a contact lens of the eye. So they're still going to need the computing part to be
Well,
somewhere
that's
else.
based on today's chips, and
Well,
this is
true,
not going to be on the market for 5 to 10 years. So
I believe that's something that was in one of the articles I read.
okay,
And
but
the
that's a
other thing,
limitation. That's not, once again, that's not including the resting on the whites of the eyes and being able to put an extra processor in there if they need to, or software that gives them some sort of Bluetooth connection or something.
right? And the other thing is, they are going to start with um, the first target audience for it is going to be people that have vision issues, and maybe first responders or like firefighters who need to be able to make out shapes in rooms that are filled with smoke where
And if
they
you don't
can't
think the
see.
military is going to use
Yeah,
this,
yep, yep. And they cannot disclose the details of what the military might be doing, but
right? But we could pretty much figure that if we could get our hands on it, they can afford them
right.
to. So
So either way, this is kind of exciting technology, and it's something to be following, because everything we know now is quite likely to change in some way by the time it comes out.
right, that's
So
pretty much what I was saying too. Is that
yeah,
as our technology gets better, then something that looked great starts looking pretty old fashioned, and these new developments come in and make our lives that much more technologically superior than they were the week before.
yep. And moving on from that, but also kind of related, the FDA, that they have an event coming up in March, a forum about XR, and this is part of the process of getting it approved, as in FDA approved technology for various things, and medical uses. So that's something to be excited about and to be following if you are at all interested in that sort of thing.
Right.
I would recommend looking up Dr. Brennan Spiegel on Twitter, of the Theaters Sinai teaching hospital. He got the most up to date information on that, and he is one of the presenters at the FDA town hall, whatever you want to call it, that's coming up in March.
Right.
So,
And he is an excellent person to read up on. He really
yeah,
does follow this, I would say, probably closer than any other physician that I've seen. He seems
yeah,
to be very, very much involved.
yeah. And the last bit of news that I had, again, kind of, sort of on the medical side, but much more in the fitness side. Your Fit, Why You Are Fit, which is an app that's available on SideQuest, and that it tracks your activity in the quest, and it shows you how many calories you are burning based on your headset movement and your controller movement. They had an update recently. The user interface looks a, a lot better, and they revamped the logon uh, the system. That was a little confusing at at the beginning, so I lost a couple of days of tracking, but but one of the things that I really love about it is it's running in the background, and if I wanted to, I could pull it up right now just by holding down both of my grip buttons and just to pushing in both of my thumbsticks at the same time, and it tells me I have burned 466 calories today. I've been in VR for 2 hours so far today, and just to pull it up, and it's like right up there, and then it goes
Perfect.
away after a few seconds. And that's customizable how long you want it up there and all that, but it's got a much better and easier to, to read interface now.
How accurate is the Your Fit app in terms of measuring your calories burned? Has anybody
Well,
done a study?
I don't have anything else that is measuring only when I'm in VR, but I've heard other people say that, oh, this seems about as accurate as my Garmin the fitness watch does, the,
Yeah,
the Garmin Vivo Fit.
right.
So I mean, nothing's going to be 100% accurate because everybody's metabolism is a little bit different. None of these fitness trackers take into uh, account the fact that we continue to burn calories at a higher rate even after we stop the activity. So they're not showing you how many more calories you burned after you stop the activity, just how many you burned during it, based on an average of the testing. You know,
Oh, you're supposed to use the word algorithm, so it makes it
well, yeah,
sound much more scientific.
yeah, well,
Guesstimate
but
is another word.
yeah, it's basically they've done testing heavily with the volatile oxygen coming out, exhaled out of your mouth and whatnot, and you know, so it's as accurate as they can make it. It's at least as accurate as any Fitbit that you're gonna wear or use or whatever. So
Right.
yeah,
And if you deduct the price of a Fitbit from the cost of a Quest, wow, that really does make the Quest a bargain. Just just put the Your Fit on and you don't need that anymore. Sorry. Um, but that is true. It's kind of unique.
true, but at the same time, a Fitbit is with you when you're not doing VR too. But yeah, I don't know
Well,
why you would want to not be doing VR, but
exactly. For everybody that's watching us, I'm sure your preferred activities are in VR. Well, most of your preferred activities are in
yeah.
VR.
yeah. So, anyways, I thought that was an uh, important important update to it. And now that brings us to our core topic: Is
which
VR
is
inherently dangerous?
no.
No. Bye. No.
That's our in-depth look at VR. Is it dangerous or not? And
Yeah.
we'll be back
No.
next week with our core topic: Is there a God?
No.
Okay.
Yes. The answer to why we are talking about this is because a few days ago there was an article someone wrote, another one of those fear mongering articles about VR, saying 6 ways VR is dangerous to users. And I read the article. It was chock full of misinformation. And Sonia Haskins on Twitter reshared the article and said, "This is so frustrating. I want to write an article about rebutting it or whatever." And uh, and I piped up, said, "Hey, this is really easy to rebut. I could write a rebuttal article too." So she said, "Hey, let's both do it." So I got mine done. It's up on my blog, and we thought it would make a good topic for today as well.
Absolutely. And you
So
should read the blog as well because it's
yes,
very, very well written. But I think basically what we said, or what you had said in referring to the VR stories, the first one was in reference to children and eyesight. Was that it?
what?
Some of the things that they were referring to, I think, was desensitizing children.
Well, yes. I mean, there has always been a concern that violence in video games can teach kids to be violent, and there's never really been any strong the backing up of that idea with um, studies, but there has been evidence that yeah, it desensitizes. Well, of course it does, because the more you watch something, the more inured you are to it. Um, and in VR, things are so much more immersive that violence is more shocking. But then you get used to it again if you keep keep doing it. So there is some legitimate cause for concern there, but it's no greater than with regular video games,
Right.
in my opinion. It's the same idea as with regular video games. Limit your exposure. You know your limits is better than anybody else does. If something is bothering you, stop. You know, to take a break. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's why I
Common.
choose not to watch slasher flicks. I'm old enough and mature enough to know it's just a story. It doesn't give me nightmares or whatever. I don't need to fill my head with that, you know?
Right. And
So,
right. So, yes, in that respect, I think that their concern was more that the more immersion there is, the more immune the children become to the
uh,
violence.
or something like that. And thing
Once
is,
again,
they
no
are
proof.
spouting this, but there's no research studies supporting this yet.
Right.
There's no basis for it other than fear mongering. Another thing that they mentioned basically harkens back to the early days of Dungeons and Dragons, where there was this big fear that it would cause psychotic breakdown. There was even a movie starring Tom Hanks about that very fear. And here we are now. How many people have had psychotic breakdowns because of role playing games? I think
on
I
that.
can count that on the fingers of no hand.
Exactly. Here, let's put this over here, and that's how many people that we've read about.
Yeah.
But it was a
So
good
it,
movie, Mazes and Monsters. That was kind of cool.
yeah, and again, stuff like that boils down to your limit. You know, if you know, and it's not that big a deal that there needs to be a warning slapped on an article about it.
Right. Well,
No,
that's just it. Is that
it's
at
fear
this
mongering.
point in our society, we have movies like Game of Thrones on Netflix,
Yeah.
and
Well, no, that was HBO.
HBO. I'm sorry, it'll be on
Yeah.
Netflix soon. Um,
The Witcher is Netflix.
yes, The Witcher is and The Witcher is the next step after Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've sort of accommodated violence in our society to a certain degree, and to blame any of it on a game or on the experience in VR is, you know, you would have to pretty much get. This comes back down to everything that we ever talk about in our societal level. Um, we have violence on TV. We have violence in our video games. There's violence
In Chicago.
in Chicago, Detroit, and right, pretty much anywhere you want to name, but no more so here. That's the big point, is that I don't find myself going out and murdering people after playing a game like Path of the Warrior or something like that. And I don't think kids will either.
Right.
I think that this helps them actually relieve stress and yayas and prevent them from doing things that they might otherwise do to hurt a real human being as opposed
Right.
to a
Yeah.
character in a game.
Yeah. It all comes down to, as I mentioned, you know your limits, all that, but also in the case of children, it comes down to do your job as a parent. Yeah. Know what
Oh,
your
yes,
kids are
totally.
doing. You don't give them adult accounts in Rec Room. Give them a junior account. No, just don't let them have an alt space account, because that's technically not for kids that are under 13. That's in their terms of service. No, don't just let them be unsupervised doing whatever they want.
Right.
Have a little bit of involvement with them. Know what they're doing, so that you know if there's anything worrying them. You know.
Exactly. You know, if you bring an AK-47 into your house, you can't blame a video game for your kid using it. You know, you have to be the person who monitors your child.
Right.
And we're not saying everything is for children. You wouldn't hand your kid, like I said, an AK-47, and you wouldn't want to give your kid a game like The Exorcist if they're under a certain age.
Right.
Whereas you might give them a game to like BOGO, or
Right.
play with your little pet. That's one thing.
Right.
Slaughtering your pet and sacrificing it to Satan is another. So
Right.
keep that in mind when your kids are playing games.
Right. So, and again, that's the exact same situation as with regular video games. Way too many the families out there just say, "Sure, Johnny, you can play Grand Theft Auto 5."
Well, and even better than that are the parents that let their 7-year-old kids read Harry Potter's books after the first one, when he becomes Harry the Vampire Slayer. Um, it's a whole, and parents really, after the first book or two, if they haven't read the whole series, they let their kids read these books as though they're reading something um, good for them, as opposed to things that are going to really. You want to talk about something that could freak you out? Read the last few Harry Potter books.
Well, read the Hunger Games.
Oh, yeah. I mean, but that's just it. Is Harry Potter and the Hunger Games are that close together by the end of the Harry Potter series, that's something probably a 9-year-old shouldn't be reading about.
Um, it depends on the 9-year-old, but
Right.
yeah.
Once again, it depends on your kid. It really does. And you know them better than anybody else. And we'll get off the subject of just watching out for your
Yeah,
children. And as far as yourself goes, we're trusting that anybody who's watching this right now is not.
is over 13 and is responsible for their own behavior.
Exactly. Exactly. And have fun with
um,
it.
yeah. And one of the other things that was brought up in the article is that VR basically is isolating, and it teaches people to go to VR instead of the real world, and it makes people not able to socially adapt with each other and whatnot. And well, number one, there's no evidence for that. Number two, hello, social VR right here.
Right.
This is a real person right here. I know he looks like he's not a real person, but he's a real person. And
And
I'm a
there's
real person. Our camera bot is not a real person,
it's stupid to
but
stare at him because he's watching us the whole time we're watching you. Um,
but there has no evidence. There are plenty of social opportunities, and anecdotally, there are stories of people saying, "Hey, I had the social anxiety, but I went into all space. I gave it a chance, and now I've got friends that I hang out with on a regular basis. We have fun together. I socialize with them. I talk. It's just like having real friends in real life because it is real friends. You
and
know,
it is real life. That's the one thing that we
yeah,
have to keep stressing that people don't realize is that when you put this headset on, you've walked into a different world. There's a physical space. Like right now, we're sharing a physical space, even though it's a digital physical space.
right. And
Um,
sorry, I was gonna say I have to be fair. Um, if you happen to have an addictive personality, yes, there's a chance that you will just want to focus all your attention on VR and say, forget the real world. I'm just going to be in VR all the time. And that's probably not healthy. But
but that
again,
attitude
that
isn't
can
healthy
happen with a
either.
regular flat video
Exactly.
game also. That can happen with reading books. I'm gonna read my Harry Potter fiction books all the time. I'm not gonna deal with other people. You know,
Right.
that's not the fault of VR though.
Right. I think, and that's what they were doing with the Dungeons and Dragons thing is that when you immerse yourself in something, you do have to realize that if you're trying to escape reality, there's hundreds of ways to do that.
Yeah,
This is really to enhance your reality.
yes.
And if you use it as an escape, yeah, I could see somebody falling down that hole and
Well, yeah,
using this as
but
an escape.
it's the fault of that person.
Right.
It's like someone who has an addictive personality. They can get addicted to over-the-counter cold medicine. Is it the fault of the cold medicine? No, it's the fault of that person's personality.
They could get addicted to coloring books.
Yeah, and
It doesn't have to be a harmful
yeah,
addiction. It's just an addiction.
yeah. And speaking of VR enhancing, there are um, educational institutions and research institutions that are doing research right now and that are using VR right now to train people in social niceties and just being able to see social cues that they can't normally see because they're autistic. They don't to pick up on the regular social cues, and it's hard to teach them that in the real world because the real world is full of constant distractions going on. However, in VR, everything is customizable, so you can really narrow down and laser the focus on what you are trying to teach them. And it helps them learn social skills much faster. So, quite the opposite of what the original article was saying, which is that VR will destroy social skills. This is giving people social skills.
Right. And I could think of, as you were saying that, I was just thinking of just the fact that you could talk to another person as an avatar, so to speak, and
Mm-hmm.
you could display their frown, you can display their
Yeah,
displeasure with the way that you're saying something or their pleasure at the way that you are in a
right,
much more expressive way than most people could, and without taking any sort of um, personal affront by the
right,
action of that person.
right.
So, in that respect, once
Also,
again, it's a
the
tool.
VR tracks where you are looking, even without eye tracking. And one of the notorious things with autistic people is I'll be talking and Brad will go, "Ooh, look at the textures on this wall." I'll be focusing on that instead of on me. Well, in VR, as soon as their attention drifts and they're looking over there, a pop-up can come up and say, "Nope, attention needs to be back there." There you go.
Right,
You know,
exactly. Or the arrow or something that brings them
right,
back into the reality that you want them to, and that will help them in their day-to-day interactions with other people.
right.
So yes, it's not. This is not socially isolating, and I have to be really honest. And I'm not speaking anecdotally, although I guess I am because it's my personal experience, um, which makes it anecdotal. Um, when I first started in the VR world, I really did not socialize while in VR for various reasons. But as I've grown in this VR community and in this VR world, I've made some friends from around the world that I would never have met. And even if I had, we're probably so different in the real world that we might never have become friends other than in an environment like this, which strips
Right,
away everything that you're used to and just leaves your personality in this room. And if that's not the exact opposite of socially isolating, I don't know what is.
right. Well, and also speaking anecdotally, and this was before VR. I used to play Second Life, and that's where I met my wife. I met her in Second Life first, and we got to know each other and started having a relationship. And then fast forward, now we're married and living in the same house and have a kid. You know, in the real world. You
Which
know,
is amazing, huh? And it's not that far different from the different social media dating apps or things like that, except you're actually meeting somebody you have something in common with, like in
right,
Second Life,
right.
where the other ones you're basically just looking at pictures and saying, "Ooh, that one looks good." Um, so in that respect, yes, Josh is absolutely correct. Second Life was there way before VR, except you
hmm
really had to be technically proficient
Um,
to exist in there.
oh, yes and no, I suppose. It wasn't that technically that challenging a game.
Well, there
No.
was a hierarchy to the objects that you were using in your clothing, and everything had to be placed in specific spots.
Oh,
And
well, well, yeah, but it won't let you to place something that is only worn on the chest. It won't let you to place that on your head.
right,
Yeah.
no, right, exactly. So it
In
doesn't
VR,
actually get too
you
crazy.
probably can do that.
It would be interesting to have an app like that in VR to be real. And that's what I'm looking forward to in Horizons. I want to see what
hmm
they do with that. Talking about not being social, this is one of the biggest projects Facebook is working on now.
Yeah, and it's gonna be coming out for beta access sometime pretty soon.
Right. And the whole focus, the entire focus is social interaction.
hmm
So that myth goes out the window as far as
Yeah,
making you less socially interactable, if that's a word. It's not really,
interactable. Okay,
yeah,
I'll go with that.
it works. I mean,
Uh,
I don't think Webster put it in there, but it works. Um,
but yeah,
and
um, and I think we're kind of starting to go over our time here, but
okay,
just basically, no, VR is not inherently dangerous. There are some cautions to be had with it, yes, but there are cautions to be had with everything, and the cautions about VR are by and large the same cautions as with anything else. It, it's not inherently more dangerous than a flat game or reading a book even
well,
necessarily.
actually there is one more thing you have to be concerned
Oh
with, and that is your headset power, because I'm about to
yeah,
lose mine according to this.
I just got a notification from my headset power. So the other main concern that the article author brought up was physical injuries and injury to others and to objects. That is a
Use your
real,
guardian.
yes. Use your guardian, set it up properly, and obey it.
And
Don't go,
don't set it up
oh,
next to the
the
wall.
lines are popping up. I'm going to keep going. Nope.
Right.
Stop.
And make sure to give yourself a little bit of room between that wall that you're
Yeah.
about to smash your finger against and
Yep.
and you. So make that guardian protective of you.
Yeah.
That's what it's for.
And train your family to go, hey, I'm about to walk in front of you. Stop moving for a little bit so you
Right.
don't whack them and give them a concussion
It's
because
better if
we're
you have a
trying
little
to
bit of
kill
immersion.
someone a gargantua. Yeah.
Oh God, Gargantua, yeah. This is the games that involve complete ignoring everything that was real before you put the headset on. Gargantua just sucks you in, and yes, you have
Yeah.
to warn people. Beat Saber is another one. I mean,
Yeah. Or
people
pistol whip.
walking into a room. Oh, pistol whip. Oh my God, yeah. Um, I've warned everyone in my family. Let me know when you're passing through. Don't worry about breaking the immersion because I'd rather break it that
Yeah.
way than calling the ambulance to fix
Yeah.
whatever I did to you.
Yeah. The other day I was trying to beat a friend in pistol whip, trying to beat his score, and there was a pistol whippable enemy in front of me. I go, and I'm like, I just hit something that's not furniture.
Oh well,
My
that's
wife
not
was
as.
trying to
Ooh,
sneak past me, and I got her like right the side and the back area.
ouch, ouch.
So
Yeah,
she's okay, but it made me take a break for a little bit so I could get over that because that was traumatizing to me. I don't want to do damage to people. But
exactly.
yes, there is some concern about that. I mean, when you're playing Rainbow Six on your computer, there's much less chance of something like that happening, obviously. But if you use the right precautions, you greatly minimize. I mean, I have not broken anything playing VR yet. I have not
Oh,
even broken a fingertip.
uh-oh.
He
I
has
have.
though. But and I've had this since May of last year, almost a full year now. Can you believe that? Almost a full year.
It's
And because
incredible.
I respect my guardian boundaries, I haven't broken anything. This this incident was the first time I've ever hit a person doing it as well. So in almost one full year, one time, that's pretty good track record.
Yeah, that's an excellent track record. But that once again, that comes down to you warning your family members or those people
Right.
around you to be careful if they see you wearing the headset because
You
they
can't
don't
see
know
that.
where you are or what you're
Right.
doing. Exactly.
Right. Now, maybe Oculus will in the future improve the cameras and how they see things so that if there's a recognizable person shape walking through, it'll put up a hologram wireframe or whatever, so you know they're there.
Right.
I
And I'm
don't
sure
know.
that will happen at some point.
Yeah,
I
I
also
mean
know it'll happen.
that's entirely possible to do. It'll just require a little extra overhead to be applied to it, but well,
Right. Next
maybe
time.
they'll add to something like that. I don't know. That would probably be a useful thing to add.
I agree.
So,
If you agree, let us
yeah,
know
yep, like and subscribe. If you disagree, let us know in the comments down there somewhere.
right down here. But seriously, we really want to gear this show for you. And now that we've become a sort of mixed community, in that we have people who have just been introduced to VR over
Hmm.
this past holiday season, as well as people who've been in VR for several years, and people who've been into the Quest since last May. And we'd like to answer all of your questions. So if you have any questions,
Yeah,
concerns, or things you'd like to see, we'd be more than happy to discuss them and to fill you in on any information we could find.
just type them in and hit enter on the comment. So, So, and on that note, I think we need to call it here because both of our headsets are about to die.
So, on a
Have a
familiar
great
note,
weekend. Thank you for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, tell your friends all about it. Have fun.
and we'll see you next week.
Yep. All right.